Hello, this is FurryMurry7, and this is part 5 of my videos on how to collect all the Voxophones in Bioshock Infinite. This video goes from Voxophones 50 to 69, and it goes from the gunsmith shop all the way to the beginning of Comstock house. Remember that you can go to the main menu, select load chapter, and then you can go back to any chapter you want. Remember that you can also go back and watch my previous Voxophone videos if you think you missed any of the Voxophones. Also, make sure you look down in the video description so that you can see the list of all the Voxophones in this video, and so you can compare to your list of Voxophones and make sure that you have them all. So after you open that second tear to get Chen Lin's tools back, you're going to have to go back to Finkton proper and go back to the gunsmith shop. And when you get inside, you'll find a Voxophone that wasn't there earlier. It's right next to their bodies, lying on the floor, on that shelf.
Looks like I got a friend in town after all. Slate. He's fell in with these Vox Populi.
Shortly after you enter the factory, you'll go up an elevator and fight the Vox Populi guys, and then after that, you'll go all the way down to the end of the room, and that's where you'll find your next Voxophone.
These holes have shown me yet another wonder, though I've yet to see the application for it.
After that, you're not going to see any more Voxophones until after you confront Daisy Fitzroy. So, after that, your the door will be open and you'll be able to go in and turn to the right, and the Voxophone is in that little room.
Fitzroy, you win this fool war. You send this to New York.
Soon after you get to Port Prosperity, you'll come across another Voxophone. This one's pretty easy to spot. It's right there in the hallway.
Mr. Comstock, when we next meet, it won't be to parley. See, I went out to that Hall of Heroes to scalp your false shepherd for you.
After you get to the Grand Central Depot, you'll fight a whole bunch of enemies. After you fight the enemies, you're going to go... you're going to take a left, and you're going to go into one of the little rooms. And the Voxophone is in one of this little rooms. It's across from the safe that you have to lockpick.
The Lutece field entangled my quantum atom with waves of light, allowing for safe measurement. Sound familiar, brother?
Once you continue on, you're gonna go take a left into Founder's Books instead of going towards the turnstile. After you go through those turnstiles, you won't be able to go back. So go into Founder's Books. Founder's Books actually contains 2 Voxophones. The first Voxophone is going to be on your right, next to the teddy bear.
Brother, what Comstock failed to understand is that our contraption is a window not into prophecy, but probability.
The second Voxophone is in the basement of Founder's Books. This Voxophone is important because you need to collect this Voxophone in order to open up the path to get the next Voxophone.
Sally! The bastard snuck in while the Vox was shooting up the place and took my girl!
So after you get that Voxophone, you need to backtrack, go back the way you came, and go into the Salty Oyster Bar. Once you get to the Salty Oyster Bar, you're going to go back behind the bar area of the counter, and you're going to look underneath the cash register and you'll press the button. Remember, you will not be able to press this button underneath the cash register until you get the previous Voxophone. So if you missed that Voxophone, make sure you get that Voxophone.
Risked our lives for a bit of titillation?
I think I knew her. Worked at a bar on Houston Street.
You have been transfused, brother, into a new reality. But your body rejects the cognitive dissonance through confusion and hemorrhage.
After you take the elevator down to downtown Emporia, there'll be a big giant area and there'll be a big battle. You'll have to fight a bunch of enemies. And then after you fight the enemies, you're going to go on the rails and you'll go up to the second level on the far side of the area. And there'll be a door that you have to lockpick. After you lockpick it, you'll go through and the Voxophone will be right in front of you, next to some crates.
I had trapped the atom in mid-air. Colleagues called my Lutece field quantum levitation. But in fact, it was nothing of the sort. Magicians levitate.
You'll continue to follow the path, and then you'll eventually get to an area where there's snipers shooting at you. After you kill the snipers, you're going to go down, and the Voxophone is in one of the open buildings. It's in the basement of the building. Once you go into the basement, the Voxophone is next to one of the two dead people. It may be difficult to spot, because it's in a little niche.
Tonight, the Prophet moved against his political enemies. He preaches mercy, but 40 souls lie tonight dead in unmarked graves.
You'll continue down the path and you'll get into a big fight in an area with a bridge. You're gonna have to go on one of the sides of the building under a big sign that says Cafe New Eden. You'll have to lockpick that door, and the Voxophone is in that little room.
Sergeant looked at me and said, "Your family tree shelters a teepee or two, doesn't it, son?" This lie, this calumny, it followed me all my life.
You'll continue down the path until you get to the Lady Comstock Memorial. The Voxophone is right next to the statue of Lady Comstock on the stairs.
This is for the miracle child. Hello. I'm sorry your mother, Lady Comstock, is dead. I think she is altogether better than mine.
After you fight the ghost of Lady Comstock, you'll exit the cemetery and turn to the right. You'll go across a narrow passageway, and then when you get to the other side, there'll be a house with a red tear inside. This does not count toward the tear of your storyline, but there's a Voxophone right next to the piano.
My dear brother, these holes in the thin air continue to pay dividends. I know not which musician you borrow your notes from.
As you continue on to the path, you'll get to the Rosalind Lutece laboratory. There are actually quite a few Voxophones in this building. It doesn't matter where you go first. It's easy. I'll show you the one upstairs first, and then I'll show you the ones downstairs after that. So you go upstairs, and the Voxophone is right next to the bed in the bedroom.
Comstock has sabotaged our contraption. Yet, we are not dead.
After you go downstairs, you'll be able to open your first tear, and if you look down, the Voxophone appears where the tear was.
She deserves whatever Comstock did to her.
What did you mean before when you said Lady Comstock?
Lady Comstock seems to believe the child is a result of some errant act of carnality between myself and her beloved prophet.
Immediately after you collect that Voxophone, you're going to go into the next room, and there's another Voxophone sitting on the table.
Comstock seems to have been made sterile by simple exposure to our contraption. A theory. Just as sexual reproduction can de-emphasize the traits of
When
each
you-
parent, so those
When you follow the path, you won't be able to see any more of Voxophones until you get to the Bank of the Prophet. Now, you'll get to a big room with a bunch of enemies. After you fight them, the game will tell you to go to the right to follow Lady Comstock. But once you get to the entrance of the bank vault, you should turn left and follow the passageway all the way down until you get to the very end. You're going to have to solve this puzzle in order to get the Voxophone. I have a video on how to solve the puzzle. You'll need a code book from elsewhere in Emporia, but after you get the code book, you'll be able to solve the puzzle, and it will open the way to your next Voxophone.
I know the prophet is a liar, but he cannot be. I know the prophet is a murderer, but he cannot be.
When you get back onto the main path, you'll follow it all the way down until you fight a one of those Murder of Crow zealots. You'll fight him, and then you'll be able to pick up the next Voxophone after you look at the tear.
Archangel tells me that Columbia will only survive so long as my line sits the throne. Yet Lady Comstock produces no child.
Immediately after you get that Voxophone, you should turn to the sides, and on each side of the room there's a room with red light coming out of it. In one of those rooms you'll find your next Voxophone. It's going to be all the way down next to a safe that you can lockpick. And behind the safe is the Voxophone. It may be a little difficult to spot.
Lutess says the bastard is a creation not of her womb, but of some unholy science. I do not know which is true.
After you exit the bank and get back out into Emporia, you'll follow the path until you get to a building with your third and final tear. It's going to be inside of a shop. After the tear closes, just look on the counter, and there's the next Voxophone.
That's insanity. What proof would you have that Mr. Fink would hurt the Lutesses?
The Lutesses told me.
The Lutesses? When?
And that's the end of the video. Make sure you go down into the About section below this video and click on the links to watch my next Voxophone video. And if you haven't seen my previous Voxophone videos, make sure you watch them so that you can get a chance to get all the Voxophones that you might have missed. So, thank you very much for watching, and please like and subscribe.